Hello everyone, welcome to the Scumdog's Kennel. I'm your host, Chris Williams, and in today's Cryptid Corner mini episode, today I have a couple of forest stories and encounters to tell you all about today, folks. Both accounts are truly strange, and I can't wait to get into them. Let's read the first story. Colorado hiker's nightmare confronting the forest's doll-like stalker. And just from the title alone, folks, you get the idea that this was a truly bizarre story. So let's get into it now and hear the full account. What began as a peaceful solo hike in the Colorado mountains quickly turned into a surreal nightmare when discarded shoes and eerie silence led to a bone-chilling encounter, but nothing could prepare this hiker for the emaciated doll-like man who emerged from the trees pursued by rangers who warned he doesn't stop hunting. I enjoy hiking. It's a relaxing escape where I can reflect on the past, present, and future. Although I've always been an avid hiker, moving to Kansas meant fewer opportunities for trails, so I jumped at the chance to visit my cousins in Colorado where the mountains are inviting. I prefer hiking without a walking stick. Being young and agile, I feel I don't need one. On my hikes, I usually encounter plenty of people, so I was uneasy when I found myself alone on the mountain not long after I spotted a size 8 woman's shoe, hesitant to investigate further. Given the tales of severed feet, I looked inside and found nothing out of the ordinary. Just as I shrugged it off, I heard rustling leaves nearby. Picking up the shoe to return it, I heard twigs snapping above me. Looking up, I saw sunlight filtering through the trees. It was a clear, beautiful day. I'm glad at that moment, folks, he was enjoying himself, but from the description of his story so far, it really feels like he was being stalked by something or someone out in the woods. Now, we're going to read on and hear about, what these rangers were chasing and stuff like that. But all I can say, folks, I probably would have basically maybe decided to bolt it as soon as I found that woman's shoe, because maybe I would have been spooked by something, especially if I felt if I was being watched or not. But let's continue with the article, and, we can discuss a bit more after we basically hear about the really bizarre part of it. About 15 minutes in, I found an empty water bottle, another piece of litter I couldn't ignore. As I walked, my mind drifted to my girlfriend and how I wanted to tell her I loved her. Then I came across a man's size 11 shoe. The moment I picked it up, something changed. The sunlight dimmed. I looked up and saw a man clinging to a tree in an unnatural position with scraggly beard and matted hair, naked and almost doll-like. His body was thin and his eyes were a dark, eerie green. He licked his lips, making me uneasy. Rather than approach him, I decided to back away, but he soon skidded closer. His limbs contorted disturbingly. Then he let out a blood-curdling howl. Terrified, I dropped the shoes and took off running. I didn't dare to look back, even as he chased me down. Landing just in front of me, I managed to slide to a stop, desperate to avoid a collision. Fortunately, the sound of shouting soon filled the air. It was the forest rangers. They questioned me excitedly, asking if I touched or spoken to him. Shaking, I responded, no. One ranger had a shotgun and the other a handgun. They warned me that the man wouldn't stop hunting. After that encounter, I promised myself I'd never hike alone again. L. I have to say, folks, was this an ordinary man that was being chased by these forest rangers that L encountered? Well, the whole encounter is off. This man L encountered feels more like a fairy, or basically a crypto-terrestrial. He seems that off to me, folks. And the first rangers, the fact that they also felt off to me is another thing. Maybe they were chasing this man, and they were actually, working for the government, perhaps. But that's just me. Either way, let's read the next article. The Vanishing Meadow, a true story wherein I glimpse a real wonder. Let's get into it now, folks. The following account was forwarded to me by Adams County, Pennsylvania neighbor Alan Lowen, whom I had the pleasure of meeting at a Bigfoot group meeting several years ago in Biglerville, Pennsylvania, situated along the eastern boundary of Meadow State Forest. In the summer of 1973, a young shoe factory worker in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, stumbled upon a sunlit meadow so breathtaking that it felt like stepping into Eden itself, a vision of untouched beauty that seemed to belong to another realm entirely. But when he tried to find the lane again, it had vanished without a trace, leaving behind a lifelong mystery that would shape his writing and haunt his imagination. Ooh, that's incredibly strange, folks. And another account that really feels ripped from a fantasy novel. Yeah, so probably this might have something to do with, once again, the crypto-terrestrials. So let's continue. It's a true story, and one that taught me there is something more potent than magic. Wonder. In the summer of 1973, I worked at a shoe factory in Carlisle to help pay for my schooling. The commute from my home to work took about 25 minutes each way, passing through some of Pennsylvania's most beautiful farmland and second-growth woods. Due to the layout of the roads, there were exactly 5 different routes to and from the factory, each taking the same amount of time. I would alternate between these routes daily to enjoy a chance of scenery. One day, while driving home, I took a different road. As I drove, I relished the view of the wildlife and the lush greenery of rural Pennsylvania. In the height of summer, as the road twisted through the woods, I spotted a grass-covered lane leading off to my right. When I looked down its length, I saw something I have never been able to explain. I can still picture what I saw perfectly because the memory is firmly imprinted in my mind. The view was of a shadowed lane leading into the bright, sunlit expanse of a Pennsylvania meadow. The interplay of light and mist made it seem like a scene painted by John William Waterhouse or Frederick Edwin Church. How do I describe that moment? It was a Pennsylvania meadow untouched by original sin. It was a vision of Eden in its first purity, or Arcadia, or the Elysian fields made corporeal. Walking into that field felt like stepping through a portal into a realm of fairy, from which no mortal could ever return. In an instant, it vanished behind me as I drove away, leaving me breathless with the memory. Now, here's where it gets strange. So profoundly affected by the vision, I searched for the lane the next day after work. I took the road I thought I had traveled the day before, but I found no grass-covered lane. No problem. I thought I must have taken the wrong road. But that's probably not what he found out, folks. No matter how much he looked, we're going to basically see that he couldn't find this meadow again. But is it possible that maybe he did see a vision of fairy folks? That maybe for an instant a portal had opened up, allowing him to see through and beyond to this mystical realm? Let's read on, and then we can theorize about that, as well as the first article as well. For the rest of the summer, I traveled those 5 routes repeatedly, looking for that lane and sunlit meadow, but I never found them again. The memory of that meadow later served as the inspiration for the Wood of the World in my children's novel, The Seven Sisters. However, I will see that spot again 5 seconds after I shuffle off the myrtle coil. I'll be back in that field, and then it will be higher up and deeper in for the rest of eternity. Alan Lowen. Now, here's a bit, of his writing, folks. When I was a child, I caught a fleeting glimpse out of the corner of my eye. I turned to look, but it was gone. I cannot put my finger on it now. That pretty much describes what Alan Lowen, saw, didn't it, folks? He got a glimpse of something beyond anyone, or should I say, what most people ever see in their entire lives, folks, of something incredibly strange. Now, it sounds mundane, folks, and maybe it was just an ordinary field, but it really doesn't, folks. And the fact that this man couldn't find the area again, why? If it was an ordinary field, folks, he should have easily found it. Now, the reason why he couldn't, maybe it was because it was a sunny day when he looked at this field and he only caught a glimpse of this field, folks. So maybe it was an interplay of light, and the fact that he was moving is why he couldn't see this field again, folks. Because maybe he did see the field again later on, but because it wasn't the right time of day, or maybe, there was just something off about his eyes at that moment when he did see it, folks, that when he tried to find the place again, the place looked completely different to him, folks. I mean, it could be that maybe there was something wrong with his eyes that day. Maybe just, as I said, something like basically an interplay of light, or maybe, as I said, a smudge or something in his eyes that basically he didn't notice, and maybe that explains what happened. But I don't know for sure, folks. And what about that first story we read through with that emaciated skeletal man? Do you think that he was also a fairy? And what about those park rangers? Do you think they had anything to, do with the sighting? Maybe they were there to cover it up, perhaps? I don't know. Hopefully, we'll get more information one day about these instances. Either way, folks, we're at the end, so please go subscribe to my YouTube channel, Read Comics That Are Bad For You. You can use the YouTube link down below in the descriptions or the chat to go subscribe to me. Hit that like button for me. Make sure you're still subscribed. Leave some comments down below. Hit that bell for notifications. Hit the part of the bell that'll give you all future notifications. And please share this video out. I'm Chris Williams from the Scumdog's Kennel. Thank you all for joining me. I'll be back again tomorrow with another great video, so be sure to come back again then. Till next time, folks, I'll see you all again soon.